The purpose of this video is to discuss the processes and solutions for worksheet 25, solving two-step equations. In the Homework Head Start video, it was discussed the reverse order of solving. It's basically the order of operations in reverse. First, you would undo any adding or subtracting, and secondly, you would undo any multiplication or division. As you go through higher level mathematics, then you would undo any exponents, and finally you would undo any parentheses. The we-dos were completed together in that Head Start video as well, so the assignment checking will begin for the ones that you were in charge of doing on your own. For number 1, I see that y is multiplied by 4, and then 1 is added. To undo that, subtract 1, and then divide by 4. That will be done in reverse. For number 2, the x is multiplied by 6 and then added 2. To undo that, subtract 2 and divide by 6 in reverse order. For number 3, the x is first divided by 3, then 10 is added. To undo that, work in reverse order using inverses, subtracting 10 and multiplying by 3. Number 4, the r is multiplied by a negative number. It's multiplied by -9. To undo that, you would divide by -9. And then 12 is added. To undo that, you would subtract 12. The solving will be done in reverse order. Number 5, even though the variable is on the right-hand side, that doesn't affect anything. Because it's touching with the 4, that means multiplication by 4, and then 14 is subtracted. To undo that, 14 would be added, and then it would be divided by 4. Same goes with number 6. Even though the variable is on the right-hand side, the b is multiplied by 4, and then added 7. So you'll subtract 7 and divide by 4 in reverse order. If all of your do-undo charts look like that, you know you're already receiving credit. And also, whenever you make this list of how you'll undo it, that is guiding your algebra work that is about to take place. For problem number 1, the plan was to subtract 1. These would cancel. And 13 minus 1 is 12. Then I'll bring down the 4y term. Secondly, we'll undo by dividing by 4. Those will cancel. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. For number 2, first we'll subtract 2. 26 minus 2 is 24. Then we'll undo by dividing by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. X equals 4. Number 3, the first part of our algebra work will be to undo the addition using subtraction. 13 minus 10 is 3. Then to undo the second step, we'll multiply both sides by 3. These will cancel. And 3 times 3 is 9 on the right and x on the left. Number 4, first we will undo the addition using subtraction. Negative 33 minus 12 is negative 45. If you're curious, I sometimes like to write my subtraction horizontally, negative 33 minus 12, and then you can do keep, change, opposite, and then it's a little bit more clear to see how 33 negatives and 12 negatives would make 45 negatives. Then the plan is to divide by a -9. A negative divided by another negative, they have the same sign. That means there will be a positive outcome. the more rigorous or challenging a problem is, the more important the checking process will be as well. If you've made errors, you can oftentimes catch your errors when you go to check. For number 5, first the 14 will be undone using addition. 26 plus 14 is 40. Then we'll divide by 4 to undo the multiplication. 40 divided by 4 is 10. Number 6, first we will subtract 7. 35 minus 7 is 28. Then we will divide by 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7. If you were using color on yours the way the video showed in the original examples, here's how I know that you would get full credit for your algebra work, or how you would know that you would get full credit. If you plan to subtract 1, you should see that on the left and on the right. Subtracting 2 would be shown on the left, on the right. Subtracting 10 on both sides. Subtracting 12 on both sides. Adding 14 on both. Subtracting 7 on both. The equal sign is kind of like your dividing line, and I can see that on the left and right sides I've shown the algebra notation of inverses, and I'm also showing the big idea of equal treatment or fair treatment. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Then I see divide by 4, equal treatment. Divide by 6, equal treatment. Multiply by 3, equal treatment. Divide by -9. Divide by 4. And divide by 4. So at this point, I feel pretty confident in my do-undo. I feel confident that I've shown the algebra notation on both sides of the equation. The final piece would be to check the solutions. The more steps there are, or the more complexity there is, the more important checking becomes. First step, substitute your solution into the original equation, and then I'm going to simplify the left-hand side following order of operations. First, multiplication, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. If you get a true statement, you know that your solution was correct. Second one, substitute the 4. Multiplication, 24. 24 plus 2 is 26. True statement. Third one, substitute the 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 3 plus 10 is 13. A true statement. This was the one we were a little suspicious on. Okay, multiplication first. A negative times a positive, they have different signs, so there will be a negative outcome, and 9 times 5 is 45. Then 45 negatives and 12 positives, there will be some canceling out. There are more negatives by 33. So that is correct. You could also use the idea of a number line that you're going to 45 on the negative side, and then you're going forward 12, you would still be on the negative side, but you're traveling closer to 0 at that point. So it does make sense that negative 33 is where you would land because you're getting not as negative. Number 5, substitute a 10. Four times 10 is 40. And then 40 minus 14 is 26. The final one, substitute a 7. Bring everything else down. And then simplify the right-hand side. Multiplication first. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 plus 28 is 35. A true statement. So looking overall, you would get credit for your do-undo chart. You would get credit for the algebra notation, the solution, and the checking. That's 4 checks per question times 6 questions, which means that there would be 24 checks, and they would be 4 points each if we were to grade in class. When you look over your graded work, make sure that you look at the number score that tells you immediately, hey, I'm doing pretty good, or I'm not doing so great. But also please look at the personal comments and send personal comments back with specific questions or clarifications, because it's difficult for me to address those concerns or clarifications if I can't see you in person or hear your voice or see your body language or facial expressions. So please be specific when asking for clarifications or concerns, or maybe you just have a higher level equation and you're interested in knowing how that would get solved, or something with decimals or fractions. Send it over, and glad to offer clarification.